Hi, welcome to Splash and Go. I'm your host, Nate Ryan, here with Steve Letarte at NBC Sports Charlotte. And Steve, Kevin Harvick not too happy with the performance of his number 4 Ford. After an 8th place finish at Texas Motor Speedway, he tells reporters, "Our day was a disaster, our car drove terrible, and that pretty much sums it up. We're further off than we were last week. We haven't been close to a race-winning car in a race yet. I just drive." How will his terse comments be received at Stewart-Haas Racing?
Well, if it shocks anyone, they've never met Kevin Harvick, or they've never seen his career. I mean, he's a 45-time winner, 8 races last year. Really, since Rodney Childers and Kevin Harvick have been patched together, they have been a lightning bolt, right? I mean, I remember the first test at Charlotte before they ever even saw the racetrack in competition. They were the fastest car there, and they've really not let up since. And that's what expectations do. Performance drive expectations, and expectations grow. And Stewart-Haas Racing in the 4 car, there are high expectations, and this is Kevin Harvick. This is his signature. We've seen it at RCR. We've seen it with pit crew issues at SHR. He is not a quiet driver. He's not an ill-will driver. This is just, you know, what I guess, listen, why do you love Kevin Harvick? Because he tells you like it is. Whether you want to hear it or not, and whether you want to hear it in the media or not, you're going to hear it.
Well, I think the perception is, Steve, that he's thought of as the leader, certainly the alpha dog at Stewart-Haas Racing. But the other 3 drivers at Stewart-Haas Racing, they all outran him at Texas. Eric Almirola, Clint Boyer, and Daniel Suarez all finished in the top 10 ahead of Kevin Harvick. And I think the question is it a little bit off-putting to have your leader talk about his car this way when the other teammates did well?
Kevin Harvick is not the leader of Stewart-Haas Racing. He's the leader of the 4 car. Now, I think he's the A driver at Stewart-Haas Racing, so therefore the fan base, the media base, the manufacturer put him as the maybe the spokesman for the entire company. But let's be clear. I would crew chief for Kevin Harvick in a second. And the reason is because he cares about the 4 first. I love the selfish nature of race car drivers. That's how you have to be. I was with Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon was a great race car driver. He wanted to help Hendrick Motorsports right after he helped himself. If the 24 was fast, then he hoped everybody would get better, but the 24 was his number 1 concern. That's healthy. That's how it should be. Chad Knaus, I work next to Chad Knaus. It is, Kevin Harvick is a driver like Chad Knaus is a crew chief, right? Chad is a great teammate as long as you're paying attention. He's not going to come into my office and say, hey, you should try this.
Yeah.
But he's also not going to hide anything from me. Everything he ever did was on the computer. I had to go find it. Kevin Harvick, I think, is much the same way. All of those comments are about the 4 car,
right?
Because he cares about only the 4 car. Not that he wants to hurt his teammates, but he's not going to go out of his way to help Clint Boyer until the 4 is where he wants it.
Right.
I think that is a sign of a true leader, a sign of a champion. I think Kevin Harvick is all of those. This is how he fires people up. And I think what's happened is Rodney Childers is smart enough to surround him with people that have thick enough skin to know this is coming. Right? So this isn't the first time. Pit stop's awful.
Right.
So you had to work on that. Now it's obviously hitting a little bit closer to home because he's talking about their car. If I was the management at Stewart-Haas, I would be having conversations with Kevin Harvick, and they wouldn't start with, well, Daniel Suarez ran okay. They would start with, okay, what do you need, right? You've won a lot of races since you've come here.
Right.
So I would be careful comparing him to the other 3 cars.
Well, it's delicate all the way around because, like you said, they've made changes to the pit crew when he's been upset before at the swiftness of his stops. But that's 6 guys as opposed to now you're talking about a few hundred people who are actually working on it.
It's not delicate.
Yeah.
It's not delicate.
Yeah.
It's that car has stickers every week.
Yep.
That car raises money. That car wins championships. That car wins races. That car's in the final 4 or 8 every time you turn around.
Right.
It's not delicate. It's if this is delicate, then you shouldn't work in racing.
Right.
Because this is how it works.
Is his point valid, though? I mean, are you a believer, as a former crew chief, do you think that if he runs well, Stewart-Haas Racing is best served by his car being the fastest because he is the champion? He is, I think it's fair to say, the best driver. If his car is running well, then the others will benefit. Is that a fair way to look at it?
What I take this quote is at face value, which is that he is a veteran guy. Like I mentioned, he won 45 races. He knows, so we all want to see results. We all want to say, oh, well, they ran good, so their cars must be good. No. What he said doesn't say anything in there about where he finished. Mm-hmm. What he says, he hasn't had a winning car all year. There are times he's going to have a winning car and not win, and Kevin's smart enough to say, there's other things we need to work on. Perhaps the pit group, which he's been vocal about. Mm-hmm. This is him saying, hold on, it doesn't really, he didn't say it doesn't matter where I finish. What I'm telling you is it's a disaster. Whether I was 8th or 3rd or 15th, it wasn't a winning car. I haven't had a winning car all year. What I hear is him speaking to everyone that supports his staff, Rodney Childers and the guys in that 14. He's talking to all of them saying, hey, look, my crew chief's going to come calling, and I want you to know it's coming for me.
Right.
Because this car is not winning. I think Daniel Suarez managed a great race. I think Clint Boyer managed a great race. That's not to be taken away from them. But I would look at Kevin Harvick and say, are our cars good enough? And he's saying no.
And as you said, Steve, 6th season that Rodney Childers and Kevin Harvick have been together. Since the outset, we have some stats here on the laps led through 7 races. This is the fewest number of laps led for this team through 7 races by a lot. 133 laps led through 7 races in 2019. Last year at this point, they had led 520 laps. In 2015, they had led 766 laps through the first 7 races. What do you think is wrong right now? Wrong, and I say wrong relatively because he's got some top 10 finishes here. But what does Kevin Harvick need? What do you think that number 4 Ford hasn't had?
I think, well, first you have to look at the types of racing we're seeing with all the lead changes, the restarts. I think we are seeing less dominated races. It was just a few years ago that Martin Truex Jr. led, like every dang mile of the 600. Those don't seem to exist as much this year, the domination of the races. I say that, but every race has turned out to be its own animal, so I don't think we quite know yet. Some of it is that. Some of it is just the cars aren't fast enough, or they don't drive good enough, or they're not putting the value on track position enough. The most important thing is they have to evaluate what the situation is. And I think that's why Kevin is so poignant with those comments that he feels his cars aren't fast enough. He needs more speed. We heard Jimmy Johnson this week say, you know what? I think we almost jumped the fence a little bit. We had a really fast car, but didn't drive so good in traffic. But you could see some light on his face thinking, but we had a fast car. Hey, did you hear me? We had a fast car, right? And I think that's what Kevin Harvick is finally saying is like, hey, you know what? Let's jump the fence. Give me a car that's too fast, and if it doesn't drive good enough, we'll come back the other way. But I think he's getting frustrated, and I think that it's very easy for a driver to come off an 8-win season and be frustrated. That's natural. And I think, listen, they're going to turn it around. We saw this out of Team Penske last year, and guess what? Second half of the year, they were gangbusters. They were nowhere to be seen, and then Brad came on the scene. I expect the same out of Kevin Harvick. He's not going to disappear. Like I said, if that quote hurts your feelings, perhaps you should work in a different industry.
Find something else to do.
That's
all right,
it.
well, you always have to check your feelings at the gate, Steve, when you're working with Kevin Harvick. Bristol Motor Speedway this weekend. You can watch next Monday, NASCAR America, 5 p.m. Eastern. Steve Letarte will have the analysis of how Harvick and others did at Bristol. And Motor Mouths every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, NBCSN, NASCAR America. Thanks for watching Splash and Go.
Hey NASCAR fans, thanks for checking out the NBC Sports YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe below for the latest NASCAR news, race highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.